What if I told you that one of history's most devastating maritime disasters could have been prevented with a single decision made just minutes before impact? The night of April 14th, 1912, wasn't just about an iceberg meeting a ship. It was about a series of split-second choices that sealed the fate of over 1,500 souls. Tonight, we're diving deep into the icy waters of the North Atlantic to uncover the truth behind one of the most haunting questions in maritime history. Could the Titanic have been saved? The answer isn't what you think, and by the end of this investigation, you'll understand exactly why this tragedy didn't have to happen. My name is maritime researcher who has spent the last decade studying ship disasters, and I've uncovered evidence that most people have never heard before. We're going to examine the critical moments leading up to the collision, analyze the engineering decisions that doomed the ship, and reveal the shocking alternatives that could have changed everything. What I'm about to show you will completely transform how you see this legendary disaster. But first, let me paint you a picture of that fateful night. Picture yourself standing on the deck of the world's most luxurious ocean liner, surrounded by the wealthiest passengers of the era. The night air is crystal clear, the sea perfectly calm, and the stars shine brighter than diamonds against the black canvas of the sky. It's so quiet you can hear conversations from hundreds of feet away. This isn't just any night. This is the night when physics, human error, and tragic timing would collide in the most spectacular way imaginable. The temperature had plummeted to just below freezing, creating what mariners call a mirror sea. No wind, no waves, no ripples to catch the moonlight. Under normal circumstances, this would be perfect sailing weather. But on this particular evening, these ideal conditions would become the ship's greatest enemy. You see, when the sea is this calm, icebergs become virtually invisible until you're almost on top of them. High above in the crow's nest, two lookouts strain their eyes against the darkness. Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee had been on watch for nearly 2 hours, scanning the horizon for any sign of danger. But here's what most people don't know about that night. The binoculars that should have been in the crow's nest were locked away in a storage room, and the key was sitting in the pocket of an officer who had been transferred off the ship at the last minute. Without those binoculars, the lookouts were essentially blind beyond a few hundred yards. Meanwhile, down in the wireless room, operators Jack Phillips and Harold Bride were frantically sending passenger messages to shore. These weren't distress signals. These were social messages from wealthy passengers wanting to brag about their voyage on the world's most famous ship. The irony is devastating. While they were sending trivial messages, ice warnings from nearby ships were piling up, some of them never even reaching the bridge. Captain Edward Smith, known as the Millionaire's Captain, was preparing for what should have been his final voyage before retirement. After 40 years at sea, he had never experienced a major disaster. His confidence in the ship was absolute. After all, this was the Titanic, marketed as practically unsinkable. The ship's advanced watertight compartment system could theoretically keep her afloat, even if the first 4 compartments flooded. What could possibly go wrong? But engineering confidence and ocean reality are two very different things. The designers had created a ship that could survive almost any conceivable accident, except for the one specific type of collision that was about to occur. The iceberg wasn't going to hit them head-on like a battering ram. Instead, it was going to slice along their side like a giant can opener, opening up not 4 compartments, but 6. The stage was set for disaster, but it didn't have to end this way. At exactly 11:35 p.m., everything changed in a matter of seconds. Lookout Frederick Fleet spotted something emerging from the darkness dead ahead. A massive dark shape, silent and menacing, growing larger by the moment. He rang the warning bell 3 times and grabbed the telephone to the bridge. "Iceberg right ahead!" he shouted into the receiver. First Officer William Murdoch received the call and immediately sprang into action. This is where the story gets fascinating, because Murdoch had three possible responses to this emergency, and the choice he made in those crucial seconds would determine whether we remember this night as a close call or as one of history's greatest tragedies. Option 1 was to maintain course and ram the Iceberg head-on. This sounds suicidal, but here's the shocking truth that most people never learn. If Titanic had hit that berg straight on at full speed, she probably would have survived. The ship's bow was specifically designed to absorb tremendous impact. Yes, dozens of people in the forward compartments would have died instantly, but the watertight bulkheads would have contained the damage to the first 3 compartments. The ship would have limped back to port, and 1,500 lives would have been saved. Option 2 was to reverse the engines and try to stop before impact. Given the distance and the ship's massive momentum, this was mathematically impossible, but it would have reduced the impact speed significantly. A slower collision would have meant less damage and more time for evacuation. But Murdoch chose option 3. He ordered hard starboard and full astern, attempting to swing the massive ship around the iceberg while simultaneously trying to stop. This decision, made with the best of intentions, sealed the fate of everyone on board. By turning the ship, Murdoch exposed the entire length of the hull to the iceberg's jagged underwater shelf. The Titanic disaster wasn't about an unstoppable force meeting an unmovable object. It was about split-second decisions made by good people in impossible circumstances. Tonight, we've seen how different choices in those final moments could have changed everything. The real tragedy isn't just that 1,500 people died, but that their deaths were preventable with knowledge we possess today.